Welcome to Email After Hours by SenderScore, powered by Validity.
We're your hosts. My name is Guy Hansen.
And I'm Danielle Gallant, and this is Email After Hours.
Cracking the code of email conversion optimization, something that everybody wants to know about for sure. And it's not just about getting clicks. Of course, it's about turning clicks into action and then action into sales. So we're going to discuss the mistakes that can sink a campaign, game-changing strategies that can make emails convert, and the moves that drive real results.
That's right. And our guest today is Prerna Malik, an expert in email marketing and conversion optimization. She's got a knack for transforming complex data into actionable insights and turning underperforming campaigns into major success stories. From her take on high-impact email strategies to the lessons learned from some epic fails too, she's here to share her wealth of knowledge and experience. Welcome, Prerna. It's so great to have you here with myself and Danielle on Email After Hours.
Well, thank you both for inviting me. I am so excited. This is one of my favorite topics.
Before we get into the nitty-gritty for today, though, we're going to kick it off with something a little bit fun. And I was looking at this question, and I'm interested to hear what both you and Guy think. If you had to compare email marketing to a food or a recipe, what would it be and why?
Oh, that's a good one. And I love it because our business is called Content Bistro, right? Our brand is all about bringing words and copy and blending it with our love for food. I would have to say really quickly that I think email marketing is a lot like chocolate. And no, I'm not biased because I'm a big chocolate eater, but because I think both chocolate and email marketing add depth. They add flavor, they add richness to, chocolate to food, of course, and you can have it by itself. And email marketing to a business. It adds depth, it adds flavor in the form of personality, and it, of course, adds richness in the form of revenue. And just like you can have good chocolate and bad chocolate, you can have good emails and bad emails, or good email marketing and bad email marketing. And the best part, I think, is both chocolate and email marketing and different flavors to suit different taste, and you can serve them up in different ways.
But yeah, this answer is so much more elegant than what I was going to say. Guy, you go. I want to know, what's your email food?
I feel like, my email food, it's all about burgers. You can't really go wrong with it. But then you can improve on it with some nice toppings and a few garnishes and a bit of seasoning. All of those and enhance the product and make it even better. And the only thing you've got to avoid is going so completely over the top that you feel a little bit ill when you faced with the end product. So for me, the various iterations of a great burger is my food analogy that aligns with email marketing. What about you, Danielle?
Guy, we're on a wavelength here. I don't feel so bad about my answer, which is a burrito. There's so many components that come together to make a lovely package, and you can overdo it. So from the elegance of chocolate to the mess of a burrito that it can be. Guy, no $100 Gordon Ramsay burgers for you then, I guess, keeping it simple.
Yeah, sort of drizzled with truffle sauce.
Gold flakes.
Right. Now that we are all suitably starving, let's jump into today's conversation, which is all about driving email conversions. And an important first step towards reaching your conversion goal is actually knowing where your email program stands. And can marketers really compare their email program to broad convention benchmarks? And how should marketers be thinking about this, Prerna?
So I know benchmarks are quite the buzzword amongst marketers and business owners, and everyone's looking at conversion rates. But honestly, I feel like we need to kind of just take a step back here and understand that broad conversion benchmarks for an industry are just that. They're broad and they're benchmarks. That does not mean you can't aim higher, or if you're, lower than that, then your email campaign is a huge failure. No, because there's so much of nuance here. Marketers should instead, I think, be focusing on their audience, on their historical data to start with, and their brand perception, their offer, their particular business, niche. There's so many factors and variables at play that taking a benchmark as the gospel truth is only going to lead to some disappointment at some stage. Take the benchmarks, but don't treat them as the gospel truth, like the hill I'm willing to die on.
And right as we head into holiday season, this inevitably comes up with lots of clients too, which is like, what are some benchmarks around this, that, whatever? And when I inevitably provide them with like a plethora of these benchmarks, the range is really significant. And the question always comes back to, how was last year for you?
Exactly. Historical data, right? I mean, that is what you need to look at. You need to look at what's changed for your market, what's changed for your audience. I would much rather use that, and instead of just taking like, oh, we need to get an X percentage because that's the benchmark. No.
Yeah. And I think another thing, when we're talking about conversions and how to drive them, there's another maybe buzzword, but a very important one, probably more nuanced than benchmarking. And these are friction points. So Prerna, tell us first, like, what do we mean when we say a friction point in the conversion journey? And then do you have any examples of those friction points that marketers might often overlook?
Yes, so many. So a friction point is any point that basically creates friction between a reader turning into a subscriber and a subscriber turning into a buyer, right? So any point in that journey where there's resistance, where there's, a hesitation that gets them to kind of hold back. And right from the time someone lands on your site and you're trying to get them to part with their email address, there is friction. So getting people to part with their email addresses is increasingly becoming more difficult. And I see that so often. In fact, I feel like some businesses are contributing to that problem by making their opt-in forms so long. Like, you need everything from my name, my email address, maybe, my date of birth, my phone number. But it's, what industry, what size company. I'm all for targeting. I'm all for segmenting. But don't make me jump through a million hoops just to get that report you were talking about. So I feel like that is one big friction point, is just the whole sign-up process. Make it simple. Keep your forms short. Gather the information you need to gather. There are ways of segmentation that you can lean on once they're on your list as well, or once they've given you their email address, and we can kind of talk about that in a bit. The other friction point that I see is, keeping your copy from the time they opt in to the time they get that first email from you on brand and focused on them, and just kind of also making sure you're speaking to your audience in a way that matters to them, not so much you. Your brand values, your brand voice, yes, they're definitely important, but what you need to look at is, why should they care? So,
yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's easy for a marketer or a copy editor or whatever, whoever's going through and creating that process, to get so invested in it. It's like, we've got everything. We know everything we could possibly want, that it may be hard to do some self-reflection or some brand reflection there. So how can marketers like identify and then smooth out these rough patches or these friction points to create more of a seamless transition?
Obviously, the easy ways to rely on data, so using, user recordings, or looking at heat maps, how are people engaging with your forms, looking at your conversion rates for your opt-in forms, and then of course your emails as well. So that is definitely there, but then also taking the time out to speak to your audience, to actually pull up your site when you're on a call with them and ask them to be absolutely honest, brutally honest, radically honest with you about what that experience looks like. Because these are the people who've cared enough to either sign up or buy from you, and their opinion matters. Again, it goes back to the fact that listen to your people, right? I mean, their voice matters.
Absolutely right. Now, while you were responding to Danielle's question, you touched on the importance of copy, and especially in busy inboxes, great email copy can really help emails to stand out and provide that incentive to get through. And what are your thoughts in terms of, specific copy and content tactics that you've seen work really well? Are there any common pitfalls that businesses should also avoid as they working so hard to make sure their emails are captivating and effective?
Let's first talk about strategies that businesses can start to lean on, especially in a world where inboxes are not just flooded with emails. Inboxes are often flooded with emails that are AI generated or AI originated and then, human optimized and all of that. For you to really stand out and be noticed, whether you're a B2B brand or a B2C brand, is to go back to the basics. You want to use storytelling. You want to use, copy that sounds like it came from a person and not, a faceless, nameless brand. You want to sound, for lack of a better word, or in fact, maybe this is the best word, you want to sound human. You want to sound like as if this is a person-to-person conversation and not a person-to-a-masses conversation. So the more personal you make your copy, the more storytelling you have, the more, on brand it is for you. So if they go to your website, it doesn't feel like, oh, there's a distinct mismatch between what I'm getting in my emails and what I'm seeing on your website, or the experience I had before signing up, or the experience I had before buying is very different from the experience that I'm seeing post-purchase, because you'd be shocked at how many businesses don't, just make the sale and then call it a day. But I feel like these are just solid strategies that you can start using right away, right like a human, right to one person. Don't be afraid to tell a story. A story doesn't mean you need to write a novel. Yes, you want to use persuasion and you want to use, wherever is the latest conversion mechanism. I'm going to come back to the point that you need to understand what is your audience saying when they're talking about their pains, their struggles, why are they wanting to buy from you. I think brands that do that will always get their emails open. I mean, a great example of a brand that does that, a retail brand, is BarkBox. I love their emails. I don't even have a dog, and I'm signed up to their email list. That's like but I open their emails. I actually open their emails because they're engaging, they're fun, they tell the brand's story. While, and I'll forward them to all the pet parents I know. So that's what you want your emails to do. So people are still opening emails, people are still clicking emails, people like me are still forwarding business emails, but those emails need to matter.
That's absolutely right. And, we've got at least 2 pet-focused customers where the emails are actually personalized to the pet, not to the owner. And they love it. But you make a really great point when, you talk about the importance of sound like a person, sound like a human being. And I guess, that brings factors like, the language that you're using and the tone of voice that you're carrying into play. And they must be super important as well, right?
100%. I cannot underscore the importance of getting on calls, serving your audience, speaking to them as often as you can enough. You need to understand not just, what they're going through, but how are they talking about it? Not what they're getting out of, being on your email list or, buying from your brand or hiring you. But why does it matter to them? What impact is that having? Speaking to your audience regularly is super, super important. It would help you also see how can you continue to evolve as a business and with your offers so you can continue to serve the audience that needs you and would, want to buy from you.
I feel like I'm going to throw, I don't know, maybe it's my episode to just do like rapid fire buzzword here, but there's something I want to ask about copy because I was actually really frustrated about this for a while. The buzzwords are for this question, interactive elements, dynamic content. Like these are things that feel almost like concepts and are really not very often put into practice, like AMP, accelerated mobile pages. This is maybe an extreme example of making an email really interactive. It came out, everybody was super excited about it. And then, well, I don't know, I've like never really seen a carousel in my mailbox. So I guess, but that doesn't mean that they can't be a game changer. And because that they're not like super frequently adopted, they can really have a significant influence on a campaign. So in your experience, how do interactive features influence the subscriber behavior and conversions?
We found, and this is based on historical data across for a range of our clients, that interactive elements like videos and polls work really, really well to get our audience engaged and involved, but they need to be done with thoughtfulness and intention. You cannot just, I know a lot of emails now have that, oh, rate this email. Is it a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or whatever? I mean, if you're going to ask me this for every email, I feel like after a point, I just start to kind of gloss over it. I know it. I don't even know whether it matters to you that I'm rating these emails. I don't know. So as a reader, as a consumer, but what you want to do is involve your audience in, say, your next launch. You want to involve your audience in, say, what should we, run a special on? Black Friday is coming up. Vote for which one would you like to get? Or Christmas is coming up. Who would you want to give this as Secret Santa to? So which one would you choose? That kind of a thing. Just involving them in the process of, say, making a decision or helping you make a decision works really well, because then they feel they're helping. And the same is true for, for videos. So couple of instances, and this is where we've tested these videos out for both B2B and B2C clients. We found that including a video message from the founder in the welcome email, amazing feedback. People love it. And everyone's clicking to watch it. It's just great. Like the feedback we get. Another great instance of using something interactive like videos is to put it in, say, an invitation email. If you're doing like a webinar, or if you're doing, again, like a product release or a launch, like, and you're inviting people to come and watch, it works really, really well. So yeah, interactive elements are, I feel like, used intentionally can make a huge difference to your audience. But if you are going to just slap a poll in pretty much every email,
it's like the old emoji rule. Like, use them sparingly, use them specifically, and they're going to go well for you. I can't remember the brand exactly, which no shade to the brand because I see like 10,000 emails a day. But there was this really easy element of dynamic content, which was like a scratch card, basically, but in email form. And so depending on what you scratch, there would be like a % off or $1 off or something. And it's just such an easy way to do it. Yeah, I don't know.
And it's done because you do it in real life as well. Brennan Dunn does dynamic content really well as well in his text-based emails, where he just uses, so he runs right message. So I'm not surprised that he does dynamic content well. But if you bought a particular product from him, his emails to you would say, hey, since you already have this, my other product would also be a good fit for you because it would help you do A, B, and C. And that's so cool because it reminds you that you're already a buyer. It also, shows that he knows that you're a buyer. So it just, like as marketers, we know how this is done. But I would imagine as consumers who aren't aware of, say, how this is done would feel like, oh, wow. So this is, very personal. So you can also do it in a text-based email and just kind of change the offer that's being shown to people depending on what they've bought or where they are in their customer journey.
It's one thing for a brand to talk about how great they are in their emails. It's another, and often a far better thing, to hear that sentiment from satisfied customers, aka social proof. So how can marketers effectively harness customer testimonials and reviews within their email campaigns to enhance credibility and drive conversions?
So many ways again. So, okay. So this is specifically like, let's say you're a business who's fairly new. Maybe you have like a few customer testimonials and you're like, oh, but I'm going to be using the same ones and all the emails. Well, that's okay. People honestly aren't paying attention to every single word you're writing. More often they're skimming and focusing on the parts that matter to them. So if you have to reuse a testimonial, say twice in the same sequence, it's fine. It's like, it's not a cardinal sin. No one's going to come and take you to testimonial jail. The other thing is when you're using a testimonial or when you're reusing a testimonial, what you can always do is you can take out excerpts from a particular testimonial, especially if you've got, some of those longer ones, and tie it into the specific, say, benefit that you're talking about in your email, or if you're highlighting a certain feature and how it impacts, your customers. Again, you're talking about a benefit. You can always use excerpts of a testimonial as well. The other way you could use your testimonials is take out the most compelling line, put it into quotes, drop it in the subject line. I can assure you will have very high open rates. I've tested this across the board, so many niches, different segments, different kinds of campaigns. Anytime we use a testimonial quote as a subject line, open rate and click-through rates are always higher than average for that particular marketer or business, because like I said, people always buy from other people and they look at recommendations and, references. So
That's really unique. I love that. Another critical, obviously, very critical element of an email is the call to action itself. And I think particularly now that most emails, probably, or many emails are read on smaller screens, we have to think about the way that the call to action looks, right? How it can stand out, how it can drive clicks. And you mentioned earlier predictive eye tracking, just to get a visual assessment of at least how a subscriber is maybe scanning around. With that comes like hierarchy, how many CTAs. So just give us your overall, how do we make the most of this engagement opportunity?
Sure. So absolutely right that most people are reading emails on their, on their mobiles, and you definitely want to make your CTAs clear and easy to see. So button size is of course important. The good thing is most ESPs not, make it easy for you to add a button to the email. You definitely want to make sure there's white space around it. Can we have multiple CTAs? Yes, you can, but you want to choose your primary CTA, the one that you would, that is going to make the biggest impact on your business. And the primary CTA, you want to place it ideally like in the first 20 to 25% of your email, because sometimes what happens is like people would it's like one scroll and you can click, So you want to get that first click for your primary CTA, and the secondary CTAs could be further down. I have also found that alternating or mixing up both a button CTA, keeping that button up top and then maybe towards the end, and then in the middle maybe having linked CTAs. But again, with the link CTAs, you want to make sure that people are going to be using their thumbs. So you don't want to link one word because that's easy to miss. You want to link a phrase or maybe the last line, as long as it's relevant and it makes sense. So just a few things to kind of keep in mind, because again, on mobile screens, people tend to read emails from like top to bottom, and you just want to kind of keep that in mind. So making sure that also view your emails on mobile. I feel like, I know, again, a lot of ESPs make this really, really easy with the preview. Like I know we are huge fans of Kit, which was formerly ConvertKit, and they make it really easy for you to preview your emails and things like that. But you definitely want to kind of, if you can't see it, a preview, you want to send yourself the email so you can see how it looks, right? So so those things for CTAs. And from a copy perspective, keep your CTA button text really clear and easy to understand. And when in doubt, it's better to be clear than cute or clever. So enroll now could be a perfectly fine CTA if you can, or sign up now or buy now. Perfectly fine CTAs to use.
And obviously, there are plenty of clicks that fail to become conversions. Naturally, there is a significant drop off between the subscriber engagement within the email and then what happens when they actually make it to the landing page, right? So why? Often, why? What are some of the key factors that contribute to this gap?
One of the biggest ones that I've seen is what I mentioned earlier is message mismatch. So your email either sounds a certain way or has something, messaging that may be on point that made the user click. But when they go to the landing page or the sales page, there's a complete disconnect there. And it seems like you're talking to a different person, which is why what we've been, successfully using with our clients in both B2B and B2C niches has been behavior-based email sequences. So those have made a huge impact in increasing conversions, reducing the fall off from between the CTRs and the actual sales. So that's been working really well. So message mismatch and also ignoring where the user is in the entire customer journey, so to speak, because we all know this now, Daniel, like the customer journey is not linear. It's not a funnel. It's very circular. So you want to kind of keep that in mind when you are planning not just your email campaigns, but also the destination that you'll be sending them to, and making sure that it would actually help them take that action that you want them to. No longer can just send the whole lot to like a generic landing page and then hope that, it's going to convert. No. The more tailored, the more nuanced, the more intentional your messaging is, the higher the conversions.
We've talked a bit already about friction points, and I want to get up on my soapbox for just a moment and talk about a real personal pet peeve of mine, which is cookie notifications. And you know what? Nothing pisses me off more than landing on a site and being bombarded with like endless cookie consent options. And man, the damn things just stretch on forever. I get that consent has to be sourced, but some sites really seem to do it better than others. So you got any best practice recommendations specifically around getting cookie consent?
Oh gosh, so many things. And honestly, I completely agree with you. Consent is essential, but consent cannot be coerced. That defeats the purpose of consent, right? You cannot, like you said, bombard someone with like, oh, choose all the cookies or choose only with it. Like, just make it easy and simple. So again, minimize options, make it easy for people to choose necessary only cookies if needed, or, have your cookie forms not blocking the entire content. I mean, these are user experience adjustments that you could make right away. And again, going back to what we talked about at the beginning, get on those calls with your customers, open up your site, and then see what they see. And get their feedback, like if someone were, if someone were to get on a call with you as a customer and like, pull up their site for you, I'm sure this would be the first thing you would tell them is that like, get rid of this. I mean, like, I cannot even get to the content I want to get to because you've got your cookie notifications in my face. So again, mobile optimization, making sure that, they don't block content. They're either neatly at the bottom or at the top. And also with the same thing with pop-ups, like you want your pop-up forms to be short. We were talking about friction earlier, it goes back to the same thing. Just keep it simple and then just make it very, very, very important. Make it easy for people to find a way to cross out your pop-up form.
You've preempted I was going to join Guy on his soapbox and just say, it's not just cookies. Like you will get, it feels this gauntlet to actually get to the page and the products that you've wanted to view, right? You get, okay, we've made it half the cookie hurdle. Now we get to the sign up form pop up, and then we get to the latest deal. And it just feels like truly preventing, I'm gone by that point. I mean, like I just have gone out. I'm not even looking at for
But
us.
you're not
So-
really gone, right? Because as soon as you go to cross out the window, the tab, you'll get the exit and 10 pop-ups. I was telling you what about the tab. You're not really gone.
And I think it's a good question to ask. Like, obviously, these exist for a reason, right? We want to make sure that we have the consent. We want to make sure that we're providing an opportunity to collect an email address that the subscriber has seen the latest offer. Like, it's not necessarily, like, there's no bad intent. It's all with a good intent. But, like, how can marketers and designers to tackle this? Like, is it just purely simplicity? Should there be a time gap between these different pop-ups? Like, what should that look like to improve conversion rates?
Yeah, 100%. You need to simplify the signing up and the sales process. Exit and 10 pop-ups. It's not like I've never recommended them. I've recommended them in several situations. But again, you need to look at, does the situation warrant it? Or are you just enabling this or adding this in because you heard about it on a podcast maybe, or at an event you attend, or someone told you that, hey, we're getting like really great conversions from this and you think you should. You need to think about your audience experience. You need to think about, is this going to serve the people you want to serve? And again, I understand we don't want to just do away with all of this, but we want to look at, what is the experience that someone who's new to our brand has? What is the experience that someone who may have bought from us have? What is the experience for someone who may be a repeat customer have? Someone who may have bought, say, from a brand like 3 or 4 times does not need to be reminded to sign up to get your emails. They probably are already getting your emails. I mean, that is why they're coming back to your site, right? So don't play with that. Like, you don't have to show the pop-up to them. It's a matter of turning off settings. Like, it could just be that simple.
I mean, we're all suckers for a great story about a marketing mishap, when the sort of best plans and intentions went a little offline. Do you have a sort of memorable, particularly conversion-related failure that you've encountered in your time? And hopefully there were some good learnings from the experience as well.
Oh, yeah, of course. In fact, one very recently that happened was, it's not terribly recently, it was last year, but it was for our brand. We were, for the Content Bistro brand, we have a program and there was a launch that was going on for it. And the team, so I do all the writing for our brand as well, naturally. So, but I do have a team that, sets up the emails, make sure that everything's going out and all of that. And this is like the flip side of being a copywriter. I was like reviewing the email because, I wanted to make sure everything's going out fine. And I saw, oh, okay, I could possibly, make this particular email a lot better and stronger. So I went into the ESP itself. I was looking at the emails and I started editing the email in the ESP. I have no idea what happened. But one thing instead of letting it, like scheduling it out to go out, it has, because I said we use ConvertKit, so it gives you the option to send immediately and you can send. Before I knew it, I'd send it out. And our code wasn't open, nothing was done. I was getting emails from people saying, but this was like everything that we just talked about, like sending them to a page that wasn't open. They were clicking on, sending them an email they weren't supposed to be getting. I mean, everything that we just talked about, like worse nightmare.
So, Prerna, I can see from your, it was a year ago, but still recent enough to cause you your pain. I see on your face.
Even when I'm talking about it, because it was, I could have found, crawled in a fetal position and rock myself to store that.
Hey, that's how you know you've made it as an email marketer. I think this is one of the tests. Have you ever been curled up in the fetal position?
Lesson learned. Never, ever start fixing or improving an email, in your email ESP editor, unless you're super confident you're not going to hit send. I mean, I would not recommend it at all.
I think as I predicted, as we start to wind down the episode, there are 10 new potential topics that have come out of this one, as always. And before we close up today, as we began, we'll close with a little bit of a quick fire question. Prerna, if you had to sum up the ultimate email marketing conversion tip in just one sentence, what would that sentence be?
Spend time understanding the behavior of your audience and tailor your messaging and email strategy according to that. Behavioral sequences are like key. Seriously, leverage that.
This has been such fun, and I've just learned a stack today. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a great conversation, and I think we're going to have to be back sometime soon for all the bits we didn't discuss today.
I would love that. Thank you so much again for inviting me. This was, so much fun for me.
We're always looking for great new guests like Prerna to feature on future episodes. So any of you out there that might like to come and join us for an upcoming episode, drop a comment, ping us on LinkedIn.
Be sure to tune in 2 weeks.
There we
talk
go.
to you then.
Bye for now.
Be sure to tune in next time and hit subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. And don't forget to visit senderscore.com for loads more great resources to help you become a stronger sender.
To all you sleepless senders out there, thank you for joining us after hours, and see you next time.